At dinner, I reached for the last piece of braised pork at the same time as my brother-in-law. My husband slapped me on the spot. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law thought I'd swallow it like always. Instead, I flipped the table. The whole dining room went dead silent. If I'm not allowed to eat, then nobody eats. And that wasn't even the worst thing this family had done. For New Year's, my mother-in-law gave each of her 2 grandsons 8,800 yuan. But when it was my daughter's turn, she pulled her hand back in front of everyone and casually said, "I barely know this kid, so she gets nothing." My husband, Lin Hao, immediately looked awkward. "Mom, come on. Duo is your own granddaughter. How can you say you barely know her?" I didn't cry or argue. My face didn't even change. I calmly took out my phone and called the real estate agent right in front of everyone. "Hello, Mr. Lee. List my Ocean View villa in Sanya for sale. Put it on the market now." The second I said that, Zhao Gilan's smug smile, ready to soak up everyone's compliments, froze, then collapsed into pure, pale panic. She had just posted several polished photos of the villa in the Lin family group chat, along with an especially boastful caption. "Worked hard all year. After New Year's, I'm taking my 2 precious grandsons to our Sanya villa for a month to escape the cold. At my age, all I want is peace and comfort." The relatives had showered her with praise, feeding her ego perfectly. That Sanya Ocean View villa was her favorite thing to brag about, her dream retirement spot, and proof that the Lin family was living well. One sentence from me shattered all of that. On the phone, Mr. Lee's voice cracked with excitement and rang through the dead silent living room. "Xia Yu! You really want to sell that first-row Ocean View apartment in Sanya Bay? That's great! The market's strong right now, and yours is the best unit in the complex. Great layout, incredible view. I already have serious buyers. I'll get you a great price." His excited voice landed like needles in every Lin family member's ears, making them visibly uncomfortable. Lin Cheng's 2 sons were still clutching their thick 8,800 yuan New Year's cash envelopes with gold lettering. They'd been making faces at Duo moments ago, but now their smiles vanished as they nervously looked at Zhao Guilan without saying a word. Duo's little hand was still frozen in midair, empty. She looked up at her grandmother's unfamiliar, almost disgusted face. Tears instantly filled her big eyes, but she bit her lip and stubbornly refused to let them fall. In that moment, it felt like a boulder crushed my chest. Even breathing hurt. After 8 years of marriage, I'd gone from a pampered young woman who never had to lift a finger to the one running this entire household. I did the chores, looked after Zhao Guilan, and even bought clothes and toys for Lin Cheng's kids. I gave this family everything. I thought all my patience and sacrifice would at least earn me basic respect, maybe even make Zhao Guilan care a little more about Duo. Reality slapped me hard. 8 years of giving meant nothing next to one fact in her eyes. I had given birth to a girl. Lin Hao's face changed color. He lunged toward me. "Xia Yu, what are you doing? It's New Year's. Have you lost your mind?" I shifted aside and coldly dodged his hand, my phone still steady in my palm. If Mom says she barely knows my daughter, then it's probably not appropriate for her to live in my house either, right? Zhao Guilan finally realized what was happening and slammed the table. "Xia Yu, are you insane? That villa is the Lin family's pride and joy. You can't just sell it. Do you have any respect for me as your mother-in-law? Any respect for this family's rules?" The purchase contract has my name on it. I paid for the villa in full before we got married, and my parents gifted it to me personally. What exactly does it have to do with the Lin family? My mother-in-law gave each grandson 8,800 yuan for New Year's, but when it came to my daughter, she pulled her hand back and said, "I barely know this kid." So I didn't let it slide. I immediately put the villa she planned to retire in up for sale. She went speechless, seconds after bragging about it to the relatives. "Since you say you barely know my daughter, you can forget about living in my house. After all, apparently we're not that close." Duo finally burst into tears. Her helpless sobs tore at my heart. I instantly dropped my hard edge, pulled her into my arms, and gently patted her back. "It's okay, Duo. Mommy's here." My voice was soft with her, but the look I gave the Lin family was ice cold. When intimidation didn't work, Zhao Guilan switched tactics. She dropped to the floor, slapped her thighs, and wailed so loudly she seemed determined to make the whole neighborhood hear her. "Oh, why is my life so miserable? What kind of monster did my son marry? She's selling the house during New Year's. She's trying to drive an old woman like me to her grave. What an ungrateful daughter-in-law." "Mom, don't get worked up. She didn't mean it. She's just being irrational right now." "Xia Yu, are you not satisfied until you tear this family apart? Mom's getting old. Can't you just give her a little slack?" "Give her slack? I've been giving for 8 years. My time, my energy, my money, even my daughter's dignity. And after all that, what did we get? I barely know her." After saying that, I couldn't even be bothered to look at them. I didn't flip another table. I didn't scream or make a scene. If we're not close, then I guess there's no reason for me to stay for New Year's Eve dinner either. I picked up Duo and headed to the bedroom to pack. They probably thought I was bluffing, throwing a tantrum, and that once I cooled off, I'd apologize like always and come back to the family. What they didn't know was that the moment Zhao Guilan said, "I barely know her," the last bit of attachment I had to this family died. That New Year's Eve dinner wasn't a reunion meal. It was my goodbye dinner. Back in the bedroom, I put Duo on the bed, wiped her tears, handed her favorite bunny plush to her, and let her play while I started packing. Duo was so well behaved. She didn't cry or fuss. She just held her plush and quietly watched me, dried tears still on her cheeks. My heart ached. Before long, the bedroom door was shoved open. Xiaoyu, are you done with this drama? Go apologize to Mom right now and we'll forget this ever happened. Apologize? What exactly did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong. You're selling the villa during New Year's and you upset Mom this badly. And you still think you're innocent? What you're doing is unforgivable. Mom has bragged about that villa to relatives and friends countless times. If you sell it now, she'll be humiliated. I finally stopped packing and slowly stood up, staring at the man I'd shared a bed with for 8 years. His face was full of self-righteous blame. So her pride matters, but my daughter's doesn't. When she embarrassed my little girl in front of everyone and humiliated a 5-year-old, did she care about my dignity? Did she ever think she'd owe me an explanation? That's different. Mom was just joking. What does a little kid even understand? A joke? Lin Hao, look me in the eye and tell me that was really a joke. And those 2 8,800 yuan envelopes, those came out of the 18,000 yuan you transferred to your mother, didn't they? How did you know? How did I know? You used the supplementary card on my account, the one I gave you for household expenses. I trusted you, and you used my money to play the dutiful son while helping humiliate my daughter. My own money became the weapon that hurt her. I gave that money to support my mother. It's New Year's. Of course I'm supposed to give my mom money. Supposed to? Lin Hao instinctively checked his phone. His face changed instantly and his whole body froze. The message read, "Dear customer, the supplementary card ending in 9666 has been suspended by the primary card holder." Xiaoyu, why did you freeze my card? Are you crazy? It's New Year's and I don't have a cent on me. How am I supposed to get by? I looked at him without feeling a thing and began laying out the numbers one by one. I've been paying your brother's 12,000 yuan monthly car loan. I pay 6,000 a month for your mother's imported supplements. I bought and reserved all the premium food, alcohol, and fruit for tonight's dinner. The New Year's Eve meal alone cost over 20,000 yuan, all paid by me. Lin Hao, your whole family has been clinging to me like leeches, draining me without a second thought. I thought my sacrifices would buy love and peace. Instead, I barely know her. If Mom doesn't know my daughter, then my money doesn't know your family either. The moment I finished, my sister-in-law Liu Mei's sarcastic voice came from outside the door. She is so dramatic. It's one tiny thing and she won't let it go. Lin Hao really married someone impossible to please. I yanked open the door and stood there with my packed suitcase, staring straight at Liu Mei. The cold look in my eyes made her take a step back. You're right. It's not about one cash envelope, which is exactly why your entire family's free ride ends here. I ignored their reactions, grabbed my suitcase, took Duo by the hand, and headed straight for the door. Behind me, Zhao Galan clutched her chest and groaned in pain. Oh no, I can't breathe. My chest hurts. Call an ambulance. Hurry, she's going to kill me with stress. Lin Hao and Liu Mei immediately rushed around her in a panic. Xiaoyu, look what you've done to Mom. Come back here. I didn't slow down or even turn around. I'd seen her fake fainting and fake illnesses too many times over the years. Every performance was meant to pressure me, guilt-trip me, and force me to give in. This time, I wasn't falling for it. I opened the front door and cold air rushed in, stinging my face but clearing my head. Holding Duo's hand, I walked into the freezing night without looking back. I slammed the door on there crying and shouting. From that day on, that so-called home had nothing to do with me. The streets were empty and cold on New Year's Eve. Wind howled, a few firecrackers popped in the night sky, and red lanterns glowed sharply along the road. There were almost no cars, just a few lonely streetlights casting dim yellow pools of light. I held Duo's warm little hand. She looked up at me and quietly asked a question. Mommy, where are we going? I crouched down, wiped the remaining tears from her face, smiled, and gently rubbed her head. We're going to stay at a beautiful hotel and eat something delicious. Sound good? Duo nodded, not fully understanding, and squeezed my finger tightly. Okay, Duo will go with Mommy. My heart ached as I buckled Duo into the passenger seat, got behind the wheel, and drove straight to the Boyway Hotel downtown, the most luxurious 5-star hotel in the city. The presidential suite was expensive, but right then I only wanted the best for us and to get her far away from all that misery. As we drove, I turned on the heat and played Duo's favorite children's songs. Watching her slowly relax and bob her little head to the music, I finally started to calm down too. I should have woken up a long time ago. 8 years of marriage had shown me everything. Lin Hao's passivity, Zhao Guilan's obsession with boys, and his older brother's family's greed. I kept hoping blood ties mattered, and that if I gave enough, this family would become warm. I was fooling myself. Some people aren't worth your sacrifice. When we reached the Boyu Hotel, the doorman immediately opened my door and took my suitcase with professional courtesy. I carried Duo into the lobby, where warm air washed away the cold. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, soft piano music filled the space, and the elegant calm couldn't have been more different from the chaos we'd just left at the Lin family home. I went straight to the front desk and booked their best presidential suite. The staff checked me in with polished professionalism. She handed me the key card. "Ms. Sia, we hope you and your daughter enjoy your stay." "Thank you." I took the card, carried Duo into the elevator with the attendant, and went straight to the top floor presidential suite. The moment I opened the door, I finally exhaled. The suite was huge, elegant, and cozy. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city at night. The bed was soft and spacious, and there was even a kid's room full of toys. Duo spotted a giant teddy bear, ran over, hugged it, and finally smiled. Seeing my daughter's long-missing smile, I finally felt the weight lift off my chest. The room was warm and comfortable. I changed Duo into soft pajamas, washed her face, and helped her brush her teeth. Hugging the teddy bear, she quickly fell asleep. Her long lashes still held traces of tears, and her little lips were pressed together as she slept deeply. I bent down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Don't be scared, Duo. From now on, Mommy will do everything she can to protect you. I won't let anyone hurt you like this again." Looking at her sleeping face, the last bit of hesitation inside me disappeared. Once Duo was settled, I checked my phone. Dozens of missed calls and over 100 messages filled the screen, mostly from Lin Hao, Zhao Guilan, Lin Chang, and Liu Mei, plus the family group chat called the Happy Lin Family. I opened the group chat. It had completely blown up. Dozens of messages from relatives were attacking and blaming me. "Xiaoyu, how can you be so unreasonable? It's New Year's. Why couldn't you talk things out instead of running away? You've nearly given your mother-in-law a heart attack. Come back and apologize." Exactly. A woman can be upset, but there's a limit. Lin Hao's mother is your elder, so what if she said a few things? You actually took it seriously? You have no respect for family. Sis, you've had life too easy. It was one cash envelope. Did you really need to turn the whole family upside down? Come home. Families don't stay angry overnight. Reading those twisted, self-righteous messages made me shake with anger. They saw me as the difficult one, but not one person condemned Zhao Guilan for being cruel to a 5-year-old. Nobody cared that Duo had been humiliated in public. Nobody remembered everything I'd done for this family for 8 years. In their eyes, I was supposed to give endlessly, and my daughter was supposed to accept being treated as less. Why? Because I gave birth to a girl, while Lin Hao was the Lin family's precious son. It was ridiculous and pathetic. I didn't argue. One more word would have been a waste. I took a deep breath, found an audio recording on my phone, and sent it to the group. I'd accidentally recorded it at a family gathering last month when Zhao Guilan was talking to Liu Mei in the kitchen. Her words had cut deeply, so I'd saved the file. In the recording, Zhao Guilan's sharp voice came through perfectly clear and exploded into the group chat. "Why send her to an international kindergarten? She's a girl. She'll marry into another family someday. What's the point? Use that money for a better school district home for our little boy. He's the Lin family legacy. Xiaoyu treats that girl like treasure. I can't stand it. Spending so much on her is a waste." The recording lasted less than a minute, but it said everything. The second I hit send, the once busy family chat went completely silent. Not a single message appeared, like someone had hit pause. A full 5 minutes passed before a few more reasonable distant relatives cautiously stepped in to smooth things over. "Aunt Guilan, that really was too much. Duo is your granddaughter too. She's still little. Saying things like that can seriously hurt a child." Exactly. It's not the old days anymore. Girls are just as precious as boys. Duo is such a sweet kid. How can you talk about her like she's a burden? Zhao Guilan didn't reply. Neither did Lin Hao, Lin Chang, or Liu Mei. I could only imagine their faces. I had no interest in watching them squirm, so I muted my phone and tossed it aside. Just then, Mr. Li called again. He was still so excited I could hear it through the phone. "Xiaoyu, you're not going to believe this. I posted your property on my social feed and a buyer contacted me immediately. He's spending New Year's in Sanya, not far from your neighborhood. He's very interested and wants to see it first thing tomorrow morning." My heart jumped. That was exactly what I wanted. Speed. I wanted a clean break before the Lin family had time to react. "Perfect, let's do it." My voice stayed calm. "He says if the price works, he'd like to close as soon as possible. As for the price, drop it by 500,000 yuan," I said without hesitation. Mr. Li froze. "What? Xiaoyu, your place will sell easily. The location is excellent and it's the best unit in the complex. You don't need to cut that much. You could make at least another million yuan." Mr. Li sounded genuinely pained by the idea. I know, I cut him off. "My terms are cash only. All paperwork completed within 1 week and the property vacated. I want speed, not an extra profit." Mr. Li went quiet for a few seconds, then understood. This wasn't about money. I wanted a complete break from the Lin family. "Got it, Xiaoyu. I'll talk to the buyer right away. With that discount, cash won't be a problem and we can absolutely finish everything within a week. Leave it to me." I opened my laptop and pulled up a file from an encrypted folder, something I'd written long ago but never used. The title was Divorce Agreement. The last edit date was 6 months earlier. I'd already prepared an exit plan. 6 months ago, I discovered Lin Hao had used my supplementary card to transfer a large amount of money to a woman I didn't know. I quietly investigated and learned she was his co-worker. Their relationship had crossed the line, and they'd been together for almost a year. I drafted the divorce papers and saved evidence of his affair. I still held on to the fantasy that he'd come back, that for Duo's sake, I should give this family one more chance. Looking back, I was fooling myself. That night, they pushed me onto this path themselves and shattered the last hope I had left. I went through the property list and the divorce agreement line by line. Every income payment, every asset, before and after marriage, and every amount Lin Hao had borrowed or funneled to his family. I had records of all of it. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted Lin Hao and the entire Lin family to face the consequences of what they'd done. Every cent they owed me, I was taking back. There was no sleep that New Year's Eve. Outside, the firecrackers slowly faded as pale dawn appeared on the horizon. A new year had arrived, and so had the beginning of my new life. Early on New Year's Day, an urgent doorbell woke me. Then the hotel front desk called, polite but obviously uncomfortable. Ms. Jia, good morning. Several people in the lobby claim they're your family. They're extremely upset and insist on seeing you. We haven't been able to calm them down. How would you like us to handle this? I rubbed my sleepy eyes, went to the window, and peeked outside. Zhao Guilin stood at the front in a bright red padded coat, hair messy and face furious. Behind her were Lin Hao, Lin Qiang, Liu Mei, and their 2 sons. All 6 marched in like an angry little invasion force, drawing stares from people outside the hotel. I'd already disabled Lin Hao's location access. If they found me here, they must have called every relative and checked my spending records. They'd clearly worked for it. I gave a cold laugh. I'd expected this move, and I'd already prepared for it. Let them wait. I told the front desk calmly, then hung up. I took my time washing up and doing my makeup. Light foundation, neat brows, and a muted rose lipstick. In minutes, I looked refreshed, and the resolve in my eyes was impossible to hide. Then I opened the suitcase and dressed Duo in a beautiful New Year's outfit, a red dress, little white shoes, and 2 pretty bows. She instantly looked like a tiny princess. She blinked her big eyes at me. Mommy, are we going downstairs? Yeah, let's go see them. I crouched down, looked seriously into my daughter's eyes, and held her little hand. Duo, no matter what you see or hear down there, don't be scared. Stay right beside Mommy, okay? Duo nodded, not fully understanding, and tightly grabbed the edge of my clothes. She nodded hard. Okay, Mommy. Half an hour later, I walked into the hotel lobby holding Duo's hand, calm and composed. Guests had gathered to watch, while hotel staff struggled to contain the furious Lin family. Zhao Guilin stood in the middle yelling, Lin Hao paced anxiously, and Lin Qiang and Liu Mei kept stirring things up. The moment Zhao Guilin saw me, she stopped shouting, stared like she'd seen her worst enemy, and charged forward. I didn't move. A second later, she launched into her signature performance, dropping onto the polished marble floor and wailing loud enough for the entire hotel to hear. Somebody help me! Look at this heartless daughter-in-law! She got rich and forgot her family! On New Year's, she threw an old woman like me out, and now she's selling the house I was supposed to retire in. She's trying to ruin my life. Why am I so unlucky? She wailed and slapped the floor so hard it echoed. People around us turned to stare, whispering and pointing at me with curious, doubtful looks. Lin Qiang pulled out his phone and started live streaming. His clickbait title read, Ultra-rich daughter-in-law abuses elderly mother-in-law on New Year's Day. He pointed the camera at Zhao Guilin, then at me. Everyone look! This is my sister-in-law, a completely ungrateful woman. She only got where she is because of our family, and now that she's rich, she looks down on us. She's tormenting her mother-in-law on New Year's. It's disgusting. He wanted to use public pressure to force me to back down and destroy my reputation. Too bad he'd miscalculated. I didn't panic. I barely raised an eyebrow. I calmly walked over to Zhao Guilin, looked down at her, then turned to the hotel staff. Could you please call your security manager? The security manager arrived within moments. He asked respectfully, Mrs. Xia, how can I help you? Please keep order here. I don't want unrelated people shouting in the lobby and disturbing other guests. Then I looked at the phone in Lin Qiang's hand, my voice turning cold. I also don't consent to anyone live streaming me here or invading my privacy. If it continues, I'll pursue legal action. Understood, Ms. Xia. I'll handle it right away. The security manager immediately understood and waved several large guards forward. He politely told Lin Qiang, Sir, please turn off your phone and end the live stream. Otherwise, we'll have to take further action. Lin Qiang still tried to argue, sticking out his neck. What does my live stream have to do with you? It's my freedom! Before he finished, 2 large security guards stepped up on either side of him, their expressions leaving no room for debate. Lin Qiang immediately lost his nerve. He muttered under his breath, reluctantly ended the live stream, and put his phone away. Then I pulled a thick stack of documents from my bag. With the crowd watching, and Lin Chang's stream not fully shut down yet, I spoke slowly and clearly, making sure every single person could hear me. First, this woman sitting on the floor claims I'm selling her retirement home. Here is a copy of the property deed, the purchase contract, and the gift agreement from my parents. I held up the deed and clearly pointed to the name so everyone could see it. Owner, Xia Yu. Purchase date, 2015, 1 year before I married Mr. Lin Hao, paid in full. The gift agreement clearly states that my parents gave this property to me personally. It is my separate premarital property. I am free to sell it, and no one else has the right to interfere. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some people took photos, others whispered. The way they looked at Zhao Guilan had already started to change. Second, she keeps saying I never supported her and that I'm ungrateful. These are 3 years of bank statements and spending records showing what I paid for their family through my husband Lin Hao's account and my supplementary card. I opened another file and flipped through it page by page for everyone, pointing at the numbers. This is Zhao Guilan's monthly nutrition allowance, 6,000 yuan a month, about 230,000 over 3 years. And this is her travel budget, 2 trips a year, domestic and overseas, totaling 150,000 over 3 years. This is my brother-in-law Lin Qiang's car loan, 12,000 yuan a month, 440,000 over 3 years. Add their living expenses, the kids' tuition, holiday gift money, everything, and the total comes to 2.37 million yuan. 237 million yuan. I stressed every word and looked around the crowd. I supported their entire family with real money for 3 years, and this is what I got in return. At Lunar New Year's Eve dinner, she looked at my 5-year-old daughter in front of everyone and said, "I barely know this kid." She humiliated my daughter publicly and trampled all over her dignity. The crowd gasped. The live stream had already ended, but plenty of people had seen it, and the clip was already being discussed online. Public opinion was starting to turn. I pulled out my phone, hit play, and replayed the recording of Zhao Guilan insulting Duo. Why send her to some international kindergarten? She's a girl. She'll marry into someone else's family someday anyway. What's the point of all that school? She's just a money pit. Xia Yu is wasting her time, treating that brat like treasure. I can't stand her. She's not close to me at all. Totally ungrateful. Zhao Guilan's sharp, venomous voice echoed through the hotel lobby on speakerphone. Every word landed like a slap. People who had felt sorry for Zhao Guilan just seconds earlier now stared at her with disgust and anger, pointing and whispering. Then the comments started flying. Wow, that old lady is vicious! She took more than 2 million from her daughter-in-law and still called her granddaughter a burden? Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Shameless. This family has zero shame. They live off the daughter-in-law's money and then turn around and humiliate her child. Total leeches. No wonder she's selling the house and getting divorced. I'd be done too. That mother-in-law is unbelievable. The whispers grew louder until they swallowed Zhao Guilan whole. Her face went from pale to red. She sat frozen on the floor, so overwhelmed she even forgot to cry. She kept muttering, "No, I didn't. She faked it. She made all of this up." Lin Qiang saw things going south and lunged for my phone in a rage. He shouted, "You're lying. You faked this. Don't you dare smear my mom's name." But the second he moved, 2 staff members reacted fast, grabbed him, and pinned him against the wall. Lu Mei panicked and rushed over to help Lin Qiang, but staff blocked her too. She could only stand there, frantic and furious. Lin Hao stood off to the side, pale and silent. He couldn't look at me or the crowd. He hid behind everyone like a coward and didn't say a single word to defend me. Just then, my phone rang. It was a video call from Mr. Li, the real estate agent. I answered immediately, put it on speaker, and made sure everyone could hear and see. "Xia Yu, we've got a problem," Mr. Li said anxiously. "The buyer is at the villa for the viewing, but it looks like someone's living inside and they won't let us in." My stomach dropped. "Mr. Li, hold on." A bad feeling hit me, followed by the anger of realizing someone had played me. "Point the camera inside, let me see." I said it coldly. Mr. Li immediately turned his phone toward the villa entrance. On screen, my carefully renovated ocean view villa in Sanya had its front door wide open. Several men were playing cards on the living room sofa. Cards and loose change covered the table, smoke filled the room, and beer bottles, peanut shells, and sunflower seed husks littered the floor. It looked like a dump. On a wicker chair on the balcony, a woman I didn't know was wearing my silk robe, legs crossed, casually cracking sunflower seeds and spitting the shells all over the floor. She had a drink in one hand and acted like she owned the place. What made me even angrier was that I recognized one of the men playing cards. It was Liu Hu, Liu Mei's younger brother. I was shaking with rage. Unbelievable. They weren't just living off me themselves. They had brought the whole extended family along. They had turned my house into the Lin family's free vacation resort and treated it like their personal playground. I kept the video call going. Then I turned the phone screen toward Lin Hao, whose face had gone gray, and toward Zhao Guilan and Liu Mei. I looked at them with an icy smile and spoke in a tone that left no room for argument. Lin Hao breaking into someone's home and deliberately damaging their property isn't exactly a minor offense. So are you calling your wonderful relatives and telling them to get out right now? Or should I call the police and have them escorted out? The moment I finished, the first person to crack wasn't Lin Hao, it was Liu Mei. She screamed, went white, rushed over, grabbed my arm and shook it desperately. She begged, "Xiaoyu, please, you can't call the police. My brother, he already has a record. If he gets arrested again, his life is over. Please, let him go." So that's why they were so bold. Turns out he had done this kind of thing before. I looked at Liu Mei's terrified face and felt nothing. Honestly, it was almost funny. Why should I care if his life falls apart? He trashed my house so he can pay for it. On the video, Mr. Li had already followed my instructions and called the police. We could clearly hear the dispatcher say officers were on the way. Before long, several officers appeared at the villa. Liu Hu panicked, dropped his cards, and tried slipping out the back, but they caught him. He and the others were taken away in a police car. Their panicked, scrambling mess played out live on the screen for all of us and the entire crowd to see. Zhao Guilan collapsed on the floor, staring blankly and whispering, "It's over." She knew that once this blew up, every boast she'd made to relatives back home would be exposed, and she'd never be able to show her face again. She stumbled to her feet and rushed toward me. Gone was the arrogance from before. Now she was begging in a small, pleading voice. She grabbed my hand and shook her head. "Ning Ning, no, Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, Mom was wrong. I was really wrong. We're family. Please don't take this so far. Let your sister-in-law's brother off this once. I'll kneel and apologize." She actually started to kneel, but I pushed her away. Watching her switch faces that fast made me sick. Family? Mother-in-law, didn't you say you barely know my daughter? If we're strangers, then let's handle this by the book. As soon as I said that, Mr. Huang, the buyer on the video call, turned to Mr. Li with a furious look. "Manager Li, look at this place. The walls are filthy, the furniture is scratched, the carpets are stained. Who could live here like this? Either you cover all renovation costs, at least 1 million yuan, or knock another million off the agreed price. Otherwise, I'm walking away." Without hesitation, I said into the phone, "Manager Li, tell Mr. Huang the discount is fine. I'll knock off 1 million. Every bit of damage will be paid by the trespassers, including renovation costs and compensation for the trouble they've caused me." The second I said that, Liu Mei dropped to her knees in front of me and clung to my leg, crying so hard she could barely breathe. She sobbed, "Please, sister-in-law, we can't afford it. 1 million would ruin us. Please let us go. I'll kneel, I'll beg, I'll do anything." She really started bowing her head to the floor over and over, her forehead thudding against the marble. Before long, it was red, but no one around us felt sorry for her. They only looked disgusted. I frowned, shook her off, and looked past her at the man who had spent this entire mess hiding behind the women without saying a word. My husband, Lin Hao. "Lin Hao, we need to talk." I said it coldly. Lin Hao looked up, pale and panicked, then nodded and followed me to the hotel lounge, away from the crowd and his family. I pulled the divorce agreement I'd already prepared from my bag, tossed it onto the table in front of him, and said, "Sign it." Lin Hao's pupils tightened. He grabbed the agreement and flipped through it. When he reached the clause saying he would voluntarily give up all marital assets and leave with nothing, his hands started shaking so badly he nearly dropped the papers. He looked up, eyes bloodshot with shock and anger. He pointed at me. "Xiaoyu, you're ruthless. You're divorcing me over this. You're tearing our family apart. Have you even thought about Duo? She's still little. She needs her dad." "Over this?" I laughed in disbelief. "Lin Hao, your mother humiliated our daughter in public, your relatives broke into my house and damaged my property, and you used my money to support your mistress. To you, that's all just this? Did you think about Duo when her grandmother humiliated her at New Year's dinner and crushed her dignity? Where were you? Making excuses, telling me to back down, calling me unreasonable. Did you ever think that what she needs is a father who protects her, not a coward who helps other people bully his own child?" My words hit Lin Hao hard. His face flashed from pale to red. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. All he could mutter was, "That's not what You just what? You're afraid of your mom? You only care about keeping peace with your side of the family, and you don't care how Duo and I feel, is that it?" I cut him off. My eyes were full of disappointment. "Lin Hao, it's been 8 years. I've had enough. I'm done putting up with this." I pulled another stack from my bag and threw it at him. Photos scattered across the floor. Lin Hao with a young, attractive woman, cuddling on a park bench, holding hands over dinner, even kissing outside a hotel. The photos covered 2 years. The woman was his co-worker, Zhang Qian. "Is this also one of those little things?" I asked coldly. Lin Hao froze, all the color drained from his face. He stared at the photos on the floor, trembling. He muttered, "How did you know? When did you find out?" "When I found out doesn't matter. What matters is that you did it." I stared at him without a trace of warmth. "And it's not just the photos." I also have the records of you secretly using my secondary card to transfer money to your special friend. Over 2 years, it totaled 1.2 million yuan. Lin Hao, you cheated during our marriage and deliberately moved marital assets. I have the evidence. I leaned down toward his pale face and spoke slowly, like a judge delivering a verdict. Do you still think I'm the cruel one? The entire lounge went silent except for Lin Hao's heavy breathing and the sound of him shaking. The crowd couldn't hear every word, but the photos scattered across the floor and Lin Hao's reaction told them enough. The whispers started up again, louder than before. Looks like this guy's no saint either. Bet he cheated. No wonder she's done with him. He cheats and funnels money to his own family. I'd divorce him too and make sure he walks away with nothing. What a loser, lives off his wife and still cheats, total freeloader. Lin Hao finally broke. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. He knew I wasn't bluffing. The evidence I had could destroy him in divorce court, leave him with nothing, and saddle him with huge debts. Every backup plan he had was blocked. Still, he refused to give up and grabbed my hand tightly. He pleaded, Xiaoyu, I was wrong. I really was. I'll end things with Zhang Qian. I'll never contact her again. I'll make my mom apologize and treat Duoduo right. Please give me one more chance. For Duoduo's sake, can we not get divorced? For Duoduo? I gave a cold laugh and pulled my hand away. Where was all that concern for Duoduo when you were using my money on your mistress? When your mom humiliated her? When you stood there in silence and did nothing? Now you want to beg? Too late. Sign the agreement and we part ways. Refuse and I'll see you in court. Then you won't just leave with nothing. You'll face claims for emotional damages and the public record of cheating and moving marital assets. Good luck holding your head up after that. I looked at him, my tone firm. There was nothing left to negotiate. Lin Hao sat on the sofa, completely defeated. He knew he had no real choice. After a long hesitation, he picked up the pen and slowly signed his name on the divorce agreement. When he finished the last stroke, all the strength seemed to leave him. He collapsed back on the sofa, covered his face, and quietly cried. I put away the agreement and didn't bother looking at him again. I turned around, took Duoduo's hand, and headed out. Zhao Gilan and Liu Mei tried to stop me, but security blocked them. All they could do was glare and curse from a distance. Neither dared take another step toward me. I took Duoduo's hand and left the hotel without looking back. We drove away from the Boyue Hotel. In the rearview mirror, the Lin family stood outside looking defeated. I could finally breathe. The divorce was only step one. Next, every member of that family would answer for what they'd done. Lin Hao thought signing the divorce agreement meant it was over. Not even close. He wanted to stall, fight back, and move assets around. Fine. I was about to show him what it means to dig your own grave. The first thing he did after rushing out of the hotel was drive home. He planned to transfer ownership of the BMW in his name and move some investments out of his accounts. He thought I was just an ordinary woman with no real plan. He forgot I'd spent more than a decade in financial risk management. Planning for worst-case scenarios is my job. Before he could move anything, I'd already filed for an asset preservation order and frozen every bank account, investment product, and the BMW in his name. So when he drove the BMW to a used car lot to sell it, staff told him the court had placed it under an asset preservation order and no transaction was allowed. Then he rushed to the bank to pull out his savings and investments, only to learn every account in his name was frozen. No withdrawals, no transfers. He called me in a rage, but his number had already been blocked, so he borrowed someone else's phone. The second I answered, he exploded. Xiaoyu, what the hell did you do? Why did you freeze my accounts? Why did you lock down my car? What do you gain by pushing me over the edge? I was peeling an orange for Duoduo when he called. My voice stayed calm, almost relaxed. Lin Hao, I forgot to mention, I work in financial risk control. Before you even finished thinking up your little plan, I'd already covered every angle. Did you really think I'd give you a chance to move the assets? You are one vicious woman, Lin Hao roared on the other end, furious and desperate. Vicious? I laughed. I call it giving you a taste of your own medicine. You used my money on your mistress and your relatives. I'm simply taking back what's mine. Then I added, I also have evidence that you used company resources to benefit Zhang Qian and misused company funds to buy her gifts. If you keep harassing me, I'll hand it to your company and the authorities. Then leaving the marriage broke will be the least of your problems. You could be facing criminal charges. My words hit Lin Hao like a bucket of ice water. He instantly quieted down. He knew I meant what I said, and he knew I had the means to follow through. Then Zhao Gulan's shrill voice came through the phone. She snatched it and yelled, No divorce? Absolutely not. Lin Hao, listen to me. Drag this out. She's rich. If you divorce her, you get half. She can't afford a long fight. Greedy and clueless. I hung up immediately and blocked that number too. The whole family stormed back to the luxury apartment we'd lived in, planning to occupy the marital home and wear me down. But when they entered the familiar door code, the electronic lock replied, Incorrect password, please try again. Birthdays, anniversaries, phone numbers, nothing worked. The title to that apartment was in my name too. Lin Hao had only chipped in 100,000 yuan during renovations, and I'd already set that exact amount aside to repay him. While they were pounding on the door in frustration, building security arrived. A security guard stopped them politely. Sorry, the owner, Ms. Xia, notified us that the lock has been changed and no unauthorized persons are allowed inside. If you force entry, we'll have to call the police. Unauthorized persons. Those words hit the Lin family like a slap. Their faces burned with embarrassment, but there was nothing they could do. Lin Hao kicked the door in fury, but all he could do after that was stand outside and curse. On the first day of Lunar New Year, when every family was supposed to be together, they ended up stranded with nowhere to go, trapped by the bridges they'd burned themselves. In the end, they had no choice but to check into a cheap budget hotel. They couldn't even afford anything nicer. I'd shut off every card Lin Hao used. His accounts were frozen, and he had only a few hundred yuan in cash. For people used to living comfortably, it felt like falling from luxury straight into survival mode. But they had brought it on themselves. And it still wasn't over. I used a few contacts from my years in finance and made sure senior management at Lin Hao's company learned about his affair, his attempts to move marital assets, and his use of company resources to benefit his mistress. Lin Hao was a sales director earning about 1 million yuan a year. He looked successful, but much of his network and status came from the company platform, and a lot of those connections came through me. When senior management heard what he'd done, they were furious. His behavior violated company policy and had already started hurting the company's reputation. Soon, HR called and politely told him his family scandal had spread through the industry and was damaging the company. They suggested he resign voluntarily. The company would offer some severance if he resigned. If he refused, they would fire him with no compensation and circulate the reason throughout the industry. Lin Hao knew it was the company's final ultimatum. He had no room to bargain and resigned. Overnight, he lost his million-yuan-a-year job and his polished status, going from successful sales director to unemployed. Then Zheng Qian, the woman he'd secretly supported for 2 years, heard he was about to leave the marriage with nothing, lose his job, and carry massive debt. She blocked every way he could contact her, took all the designer bags and jewelry he'd given her, and vanished without even saying goodbye. When the money disappeared, so did the crowd. The drinking buddies who used to call him Boss Lin and Brother Hao vanished overnight. Nobody called. Nobody offered to help. The first people to turn on each other were his own family. Liu Mei looked at the budget hotel bill and their daily expenses and started blaming Zhao Guilan without holding back. "This is all your fault, Mom. Why did you have to make a scene over those holiday envelopes and humiliate Duo? Now the Sanya villa is gone, Lin Hao lost his job, we're stuck in this dump, and my brother got arrested. Happy now?" Zhao Guilan got hit right where it hurt and fired back immediately. Pointing at Liu Mei, she screamed, "You've got some nerve blaming me. If your useless brother hadn't brought a pack of losers into Xia Yu's house and trashed the place, would any of this have blown up? Your whole family is bad luck." Lin Cheng jumped in to make things worse. He yelled at Lin Hao, "This is because you're useless. You couldn't even handle your own wife, and now she's walking all over us. Fix it. Go get Xia Yu back or we're all going to starve." Lin Hao was already furious, and Lin Cheng's words pushed him over the edge. He shouted back, "Get her back? How? You going to do it or me? You all joined in, you all lived off her, and now that it blew up suddenly it's my fault? None of you are innocent." The whole family crammed into that tiny budget hotel room, blaming and cursing each other non-stop. A friend at the hotel told me everything. I felt zero sympathy, only a cold laugh. The loving family act fell apart the second money was involved, revealing who they really were. They had earned every bit of it. 3 days later, the Sanya property sale closed at incredible speed. Mr. Huang paid the full 8 million yuan in one transfer. When the bank notification hit my phone, the last weight on my chest finally lifted. I posted the sale confirmation and bank transfer screenshot in the Lin family's long silent, happy family group chat. It landed like a bomb. The group instantly exploded again. Relatives started posting messages, but nobody dared attack me anymore. A few cautiously asked what happened. Others said nothing and quietly left the chat. The first person to call was still Zhao Guilan. She was so worked up her voice went sharp and thin. She screamed, 8 million? You really sold the house? Xia Yu, you reckless woman. That was our Lin family's house. What right did you have to sell it? Give us that money. I hung up immediately and blocked her number again. The next day, Zhao Guilan showed up outside my company with some random group she'd recruited. They held a white banner painted in huge red letters. Heartless daughter-in-law steals marital property and drives mother-in-law to death. She sat on the steps outside the office, wailing, handing printed photos of me to coworkers and clients, and spreading lies to destroy my reputation. That kind of cheap public stunt might scare some people. It didn't scare me. I didn't even go downstairs. I let our legal department handle everything. Our chief counsel, Attorney Zhang, walked out carrying a stack of documents. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and looked mild-mannered, but he was razor-sharp. In front of everyone, he addressed Zhao Guilan clearly and firmly. First, the Sanya property sold by Ms. Xiaoyu was purchased in full before her marriage. We have a notarized premarital property record and a gift agreement from her parents. The property and its appreciation are her separate assets and have no connection to Mr. Lin Hao. There was no misappropriation of marital property. Second, Ms. Zhao Gilan's banner, distribution of photos, and defamatory statements seriously violate Ms. Xiaoyu's reputation rights and have disrupted our company's normal operations. We have contacted police, reserve the right to pursue legal action, and demand a public apology and compensation for reputational and emotional harm. Third, and most importantly, Attorney Zhang paused and adjusted his glasses, the lenses catching a cold glint. Our firm has formally filed suit on Ms. Xiaoyu's behalf against Mr. Lin Hao to recover 3.57 million yuan in marital assets he transferred during the marriage, under labels such as support and loans, to relatives and to his affair partner. What, 357 million? Zhao Guilan stopped crying mid-sob. Her eyes went wide as she stared at Attorney Zhang. What did you say? 3.57 million, Attorney Zhang repeated with a calm smile. Yes, which means you receive none of the 8 million. And once judgment is entered, Mr. Lin Hao could owe Ms. Xiaoyu at least 1.785 million yuan. If he fails to pay after judgment, he may be placed on the court's enforcement blacklist, which can restrict high-cost spending, flights, certain high-speed rail travel, and borrowing, and can even affect a child's schooling. Zhao Guilan's mind went blank. She had come to my company hoping to grab a piece of my 8 million and force me into paying her off. Instead, she learned she would get nothing, and her precious son could end up owing millions. The shock was too much. Her eyes rolled back, her knees gave out, and she collapsed backward. This time she wasn't pretending. She genuinely passed out. Chaos broke out. Someone called an ambulance. Half an hour later, I got a call from the hospital emergency department. The nurse spoke in a routine tone. Hello, are you a family member of Ms. Zhao Guilan? She suffered a mild stroke after severe stress and needs to be admitted immediately. We also need someone to arrange payment. When can you come in? I held the phone. I looked at the bright sunlight outside and at Duoduo's photo on my desk. My voice was completely calm. I'm not her family, call her biological son. I hung up and blocked the hospital number too. I'm not a saint, and I'm not her personal ATM. The moment she looked at my daughter in front of everyone and said, I barely know this kid, whatever family bond existed between us ended. Lin Hao completely fell apart. First, he was pushed to resign from his million-yuan-a-year job. Then Zhang Qian took the gifts and disappeared. His accounts were frozen, his assets locked down, and he had no money. Now his mother was hospitalized after a stroke, and he couldn't even cover the bills. The hospital kept demanding payment, and eventually gave a final warning. If the bill still wasn't paid, they would stop treatment. Once Lin Chang's family heard Lin Hao was broke and might owe millions, they cut him off instantly. They wouldn't even visit the hospital. They moved, changed phone numbers, and made themselves unreachable. In just a few days, Lin Hao went from a polished, well-connected success story to an unemployed man whose mistress had left, relatives had abandoned him, and debts were piling up. He finally realized that without Xiaoyu supporting him, he had almost nothing of his own. Then the regret started. He called, texted, and tried every possible way to reach me. He wanted to apologize, beg forgiveness, ask for one more chance. I answered none of it. With nowhere else to turn, he chose the dumbest option, waiting for me. Every day he stood outside Duoduo's kindergarten, hoping to catch me at pickup. One afternoon, I drove over and saw him at the gate. Gaunt, unshaven, thinner, with sunken eyes, messy hair, and days of stubble. Even the expensive designer coat he used to wear proudly was wrinkled and shabby. Duoduo saw him and instinctively hid behind me, gripping my clothes. She whispered, Mommy, who is that man? Why does he keep staring at us? My chest tightened. Then I almost laughed at the irony. His own daughter barely recognized him. The moment Lin Hao saw us, he rushed over wearing a desperate, ingratiating smile. Xiaoyu, I finally found you. He reached toward Duoduo's head and tried to talk to her, but I blocked him immediately. My look made it clear there was no discussion. Duoduo peeked out from behind me at the unfamiliar man and said softly with a little fear, Mommy? I don't know him. Those words shattered Lin Hao's last defense. His expression froze, the light slowly drained from his eyes, and pure despair took its place. Hearing his own daughter repeat his family's words back at him hurt more than anything I could have done. His knees buckled, and in front of everyone, this tall grown man dropped to the ground crying like a lost child. He grabbed my pant leg and shook it desperately. He begged, Honey, I was wrong, I really was. Please give me one more chance. My mom forced me into all of this. She's the problem. She favors boys. She's obsessed with appearances. It's all her fault. None of it was me. Please forgive me. Still crying, he started slapping himself across the face. The sharp smacks echoed outside the kindergarten, drawing stares from parents and children. I didn't help him up or stop him. I simply took out my phone and recorded the ugly sight of him blaming his own mother for everything just to save himself. Then I sent the video to Jiaoguilan, who was still in the hospital waiting for her son to pay her bills, with one line: "Take a look at your wonderful son." Only then did I look down at Lin Hao and say coldly, "You want another chance?" Lin Hao nodded frantically, as if he'd grabbed the last lifeline in the world. "Honey, if you forgive me, I'll do anything. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of Duo. I'll never speak to my mom again. Please just give me one more chance." Fine. I put away my phone, pulled out the divorce agreement and a pen again, and tossed them in front of him. "Sign." Lin Hao stiffened. He looked up at me, confused and desperate. "Xiaoyu, you..." I bent down and whispered so only he could hear. "Sign the agreement, and I'll withdraw the report accusing you of suspected workplace embezzlement. Refuse, and you won't just have debt to worry about. You could be facing prison. Your choice, Lin Hao." He jerked his head up, terrified. You reported me?" I actually hadn't reported him. I had evidence that he'd used company resources to benefit Zhang Qian and misused company funds, but I hadn't submitted it to prosecutors or filed a formal complaint. I was bluffing. But he knew what he'd done, and he knew I had enough evidence and connections to make the threat believable. Fear finally crushed what was left of his fantasies. He stared at me, bitter and hopeless, but powerless. With a shaking hand, he took the pen and signed the divorce agreement under the curious, mocking, contemptuous stares around us. When he finished, all the strength left his body. He collapsed to the ground, covered his face, and sobbed. I took back the divorce agreement, didn't look at him again, took Duo's hand, and walked away. We got into the car and drove off from the kindergarten. "Mommy, are we just leaving him there?" Duo looked up at me and asked quietly. I stroked her head, my voice gentle but firm. Through the rearview mirror, I looked at the man collapsed on the ground and said slowly, "Yes. From now on, he has nothing to do with us." Like a stray, he waited outside Duo's kindergarten every day, hoping to catch me at pickup and beg. He tried to reach for Duo and talk to her, but I blocked him with an icy look that left no room for argument. Duo peeked out from behind me. "I don't know him." Those words cut through Lin Hao's last defense. His face froze, and the light in his eyes slowly went out. I took back the divorce agreement, didn't bother looking at him again, took Duo's hand and walked away. We got in the car and drove off from the kindergarten. "Mommy, are we just leaving him there?" Duo looked up and asked softly. I stroked her head, gentle but firm, and looked at the man collapsed on the ground through the rearview mirror. Then I said word by word, "Yes, from now on he has nothing to do with us."